So in this project we're going to make a mobile phone. We're going to click on Start 2D Sketch and we're going to select the flat work plane. We're now going to draw a rectangle, and you can measure your own phone if you want, but the sizes used here are 155mm in height by 70mm in length. If you then click Finish Sketch and then select Extrude. On this occasion you want to extrude the thickness of your phone, in this case 8mm. At this point you can then click Fillet and fillet each of the corners to be 8mm. Thereafter you can click the top, you can fillet the top and the bottom edge to be both filleted 2mm each. That gives us the profile of this standard mobile phone shape. Afterwards, you can then select the flat surface on the right hand side and add some buttons in, using the same process as before, but essentially it's some rectangles that have been measured and placed correctly in position to be the size of the buttons on your own phone. In this case, the buttons that are being used are 15mm by 2mm. It's important to dimension the button from the top of the phone and from the side of the phone as well, to make sure that it's equidistant. Okay, once you've put one button in, you can move on and do the second button. Normally these two buttons would act as a rocker switch for the volume. You can place the distance between the two buttons if you prefer. And then finally you can add what is often the power button. And it can be the same size or you can make it a different size. Okay, once you've completed all three rectangular profiles, you can finish sketch and then click extrude and make the buttons pop out, normally to about a height of 1mm. Thereafter, what you really want to do is add some fillets to the corners and the edges of those buttons so that they look more lifelike and as they would be in real life, so that they're not too sharp. Like so. As an example, you can use chamfers as well rather than fillets if you prefer. That's really up to your own choice. Now we're going to move on and create the charging port on the bottom of the phone. So we're going to turn the phone round, select the bottom surface and create a new sketch on that surface. We're going to sketch a rectangle. The rectangle is to be 9mm by 2mm. That's the standard size of a USB-C port. You'll need to make sure that the port is in the middle and that it's equidistant from the side. You may need to do some arithmetic for that. But the size from one side of the phone to the edge of the charging port in this case is 30.5mm using the sizes that we've used already. Once you've created that rectangle, you want to finish sketch and then extrude subtract that rectangle so that it creates a hole in the bottom of our device. We've extrude subtracted at 9mm. Thereafter, we're going to add a 1mm fillet to each of the corners of the charging port so that they are curved like so. That gives us the standard shape and profiles required for a mobile phone. Thereafter, you can continue by adding on camera details on the rear surface, or earpiece details or speaker details on the bottom surface. The example shown here is a pupil model where they have taken a screenshot of Netflix on their own device and then decaled it to the top surface of the phone and then produced a render of their final object. This final render involved moving the phone into perspective view to give it a more realistic angle and then activating the ground plane before adding colour to that ground plane. Thereafter, it was simply a case of adding highlights, shadows and reflections in order to make it look like a realistic object.